Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and today I wanted to bring together the Brady Bunch from the Your Black World team and talk about some fun topics that went down this week and some things that a lot of us are thinking about, and kind of let you get a chance to get to know some of the key bloggers with Your Black World and kind of hear what they think. And so to my left over there is Nomalanga Mhlauli, and she runs the site healthyblackwoman.com, and she's also she was a 2012 Mrs. Botswana, and she's just super smart, super cool, and super awesome. How you doing today, Noma?
Hi, boys. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And up there in the corner is Tiara K. Williams. Tiara is the host of Your Real World, and she's also the founder of the Real Righteous Network. And she's out in L.A. with the big earrings on. How you doing today, girl? There you go.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Everybody.
I'm doing good. Looking so happy. And I'm happy too. I'm just giddy because this is, we haven't got a chance to really talk like this on camera together. So, and I'm excited because you guys are my family. And up above me is the one and only Yolanda Spivey, aka Bianca White, aka the coolest person in the world. How you doing today, Yolanda?
Hi, Dr. Boyce. Doing well. How are you?
Doing very well, very well. And just so you know, Yolanda wrote the article where she did a little test with online job search, and she actually changed her name and her identity to make herself appear to be a white woman named Bianca White. That's why I called her Bianca White. And it basically it's become known as the Bianca White experiment. And she found that when she applied for jobs, that Yolanda wasn't getting like as many callbacks as she should have gotten. She wasn't getting hardly any, but Bianca with the same resume was getting like tons of callbacks. Everybody loved Bianca. And so Yolanda went on the Tom Joyner Morning Show and a bunch of other shows to talk about the experiment. And so everybody who doesn't believe black unemployment is real just needs to talk to Yolanda and Bianca to get confirmation. All right, now.
Yes, please call me.
There you go. Now let's get started. Okay, let's I want you to be honest. It's okay to get crunk. It's okay to be intelligent. It's okay to be ignorant. It's okay to be whatever you want as long as you're being real. That's the rule. The real is the rule. Now, I want to start off by asking you guys a question. And I don't know, people might fault me for wanting to know about this, but I'm really curious what people think. You saw last week that there was a big controversy about Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade and Dwayne Wade's baby mama and this whole thing about him having this baby out of the blue, which comes out right after he announces that he's engaged to Gabrielle Union. So a lot of people are saying, okay, Gabby's okay with it. It's no big deal. But then a lot of people are saying, girl, you stupid. You shouldn't be getting married to him. You let him go. He's no good. So I want to know now. I'm going to go ahead and just start to my left and ask Nomalanga, when you saw what went down, what were your thoughts? Did you think that Gabby was being stupid by staying with him, or do you think that maybe there's something going on that maybe we're not aware of?
My initial reaction was, I think I wrote something on Facebook. I was like, "Run, Gabby, run!" And I was obviously being funny, but there was a level of seriousness to what I was talking about. My first thing was I was very concerned, as I always am, that there was unprotected sex going on. That always concerns me. And I said, again, I was joking, but I was actually also being serious. I said, girl, before you take him back, take him to the clinic and get some tests. But I will say, I do respect a woman's, right to make her decisions about what's best for her life. If she had all the facts and that's the decision that she made, I respect her. If she thinks that it will work, it left to be seen. I do respect her right to make a decision, but I will say I am concerned about the unprotected sex. I mean, I think for them, money's not as much of an issue, the everyday folks like us. So another check going to the unemployment office or whatever, I'm sorry, not unemployment, child support office doesn't bother them as much as it bothers the rest of us.
Interesting. Okay, well, okay, so Tiara, now you have an extraordinary baby's father and a beautiful child, Lauren and Montel Harvey. You had a child together, and so you kind of know firsthand just some of these ups and downs that might come in relationships. Now Montel's not the type of dude that would run off and do something like this, but what do you think? I mean, when you're talking about people getting together and these sorts of things happening, I mean, do you think that Gabby's necessarily just misguided by staying with Dwayne, or do you think that maybe the fact that he is a multimillionaire superstar athlete that a lot of women want, do you think that should be factored in at all in the way she responds to what happened here?
Absolutely. I think, it's so funny because there's a lifestyle that comes along with living in Hollywood, and not that Gabby needs a man, but it definitely helps that she has somebody that has an income, that has all of this prestige, that can make her life a lot easier just in case she's in between gigs, if you know what I mean. And so it just helps. It makes things a lot easier on her. But, I mean, I had an experience kind of like Nomalanga. Like, I was online and I was thinking, well, God, he put her life in all kinds of jeopardy. First off, he was raw dogging. That's a problem. And then second, he put her life in all types of jeopardy. And then second, like, there was supposed to be this break, but nobody really knows if it happened during the break. It just sounds shady, and, word was on the street that, their relationship came fresh out of his relationship with his wife. So I don't know if it's a touch of karma along with, she already knew who he was. Maybe she's accepting that part of it. Like, I know he's a cheater because we cheated. So,
okay.
I'm just saying.
So my question though, I want to ask the hard question here. Now, Dwayne Wade is 31 years old and Gabby is 41. Now, that doesn't mean that she can't have a child, but her best childbearing years are behind her. So if you are a person who, if you're like Dwayne Wade and you take pride in being a dad and having children, how much do you think that could play into this? That maybe, there's something going on in terms of Gabby maybe not being able to give him a child, or him realizing that the window is kind of shut. I mean, Yolanda, do you think that factors in at all? And if it does, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I really don't think the children matter because, Dwayne has a bunch of kids anyway, and I don't know whether or not Gabby wants to have children. She never mentioned whether or not she wanted to be a mom, but I really don't think it matters. I don't think the children matters. I think she would accept Dwayne, his kids as her own. So I don't think it would have mattered one way or another.
Interesting. So, well, I think that what Tiara said about the raw dogging part is really interesting, right? I mean, the unprotected sex. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind for me when I hear about a guy that has a bunch of kids with a bunch of women. I'm thinking that's a lot of unprotected sex, because I'm willing to bet you that people probably have sex maybe 50 times for every one time somebody gets pregnant, right? So to me, it's like if you have 8 pregnancies or 6, some ungodly number that comes out of your sex life, that means you're having a lot of unprotected sex. And that's kind of scary. Now, but here's another thought. Here's another, question I want to throw at you. And anybody wants to answer, just raise your hand and jump in. In fact, I'll go in the circle and go back to Noma first. Okay. You've heard people say, what, you want to answer the question? Before you're going to answer the question before I ask it?
I want to just double back. I want to just double back, to the she's 40, he's 30 topic. Or at least the part of the topic, and just say this. I think you do have to consider that a woman who's 40 years old's options in terms of who she can date narrow significantly from the time when she was 30 and the time when she was 20. So that, I think, is a factor whether she will say that or not. I also think we shouldn't assume that Gabby wants kids. Maybe she doesn't. Not everybody does.
Yeah.
In fact, I always laugh and say I didn't think about whether I wanted kids or not until after I had 2. And, I love them, and I think they're, I think they're a gift, but I just honestly didn't have that thought until after the fact. And maybe some women do have that thought before they have kids, and then they just don't have kids. So we shouldn't always assume that a woman who doesn't have kids can't have kids or wants kids.
Interesting. Okay.
Right,
I agree with go ahead, please. Tiara. Go ahead, please.
And I just want to also add that the culture in general in Los Angeles is that women don't have kids. They're too busy chasing their careers. We're too busy trying to get on television. So you look up one day and you're 45, and you realize that you don't have a baby. I remember I had a conversation with Juanita Moore, who just passed. I had just an amazing experience with her, and she told me that one of her regrets was not having children. And so not to, but I'm just showing you the culture of where we live and, what the business, does to you. So go ahead.
No, interesting. I mean, I think that's an interesting point. And so, when we go into that, let's go back to that whole point you made earlier about raw dogging. I'm curious about this fact. Okay. You'll hear a lot of people that will say, I'd be upset if my mate cheated on me because they can give me an STD. And so let's say that you're with somebody for 10 years and they cheat on you twice. So that means, let's say they slept with two people unprotected or protected, whatever it is, and you're worried about catching the STD because they had sex with two people in the 5-10 year relationship twice or over that time. But think about this. Let's say that you leave that person behind and you move on and you go back into the dating market and you're meeting new people who probably had sex with a lot more than two people over the last 5 or 10 years. I mean, so to me the STD thing is a little bit of a weird argument to make when it comes to fidelity. It seems that it just comes down to saying, look, I don't trust the fact that you've used your sex organs on another person, and that upsets me because I feel like that they belong to me and no one else should touch them. That's what it is. It's not about the health issue, because if it were about health, then people would stay in their relationships, even if there was a little leakage, so to speak, a little bit of, monogamy, right? Because when you meet somebody, you meet a guy like a Dwayne Wade. Seriously, you meet a guy like a Dwayne Wade, and he's been single for 5-10 years. How many women do you think he slept with during that time? Do you really think you're safer sleeping with him than you are sleeping with the man that you just left so that you could be safe again? Like, I don't know. I just think that's like saying it's cold in my house, but I'm going to go outside in the snow because I'm going to get warm again. That doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, am I crazy, or am I just the only guy here? Noma, please.
Well, first of all, I think that I do understand the argument about people thinking they own other people, but I also think we have to think about agreement, commitment, and integrity. When you make a commitment to another person and you give them your word that this is how it's going to be, when you do something different, they do have the right to then turn around and say, excuse me, this is not what we agreed on. Now, again, I'm very different from a lot of women. I think we've had conversations, I've written articles, and I'm like, hey, look, I have nothing against polygamy. It just so happens that, again, I didn't think about it before I got married. Maybe before I got married, I thought about it as being a polygamous marriage. But again, it's a choice, it's a decision. We make the commitment, we have the agreement, and that's what it is. But if you agree that you're going to be with one person, it's their right to call you out when you do something that goes away from the agreement.
Okay.
And yes, it is about diseases, because when you're in a relationship, you make the assumption that you're to some degree safer than when you're out, quote unquote, out there. You feel like you're safe. Mm-hmm. You're in a safe place. And this person is taking that safe place and violating it. If you're out there, I think you're more cautious. Maybe you're even more mindful of protection and all that other stuff because you know that you're quote unquote out there. But if it's in a safe place that you've created with somebody, they're really violating you when they bring other people into that safe place.
Tiara, it seemed like you had something you wanted to say in response to that.
Well, I was just about to say, no disrespect to Magic Johnson or his family, but we're all not Cookie. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if I was to meet a man and he come home and tell me he got the monster,
the
so to speak. And I'm supposed to, I watched an interview. She slapped him upside the head and said, boy, we're going to stay together. No, that ain't gonna happen the whole time. Like, that's not gonna happen with all of us. You know what I'm saying? So I do want to piggyback off what Noma said. It is a commitment, and you do want to be safe. You don't want to feel like you got to question whether he got the heebie-jeebies every time he come home or off the road.
Right. Yolanda, what do you think about all this?
I think that that's a lifestyle that many of them accept. You see, like, for instance, Evelyn Lozada, she and, what's his name? Ocho Cinco. They were, she knew that he was cheating on her. And, I mean, it's something that it's Hollywood.
Interesting.
Well, it's Hollywood.
Well, that's a good point.
It's a lifestyle they come to accept.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that it's a lifestyle people accept. But I'll tell you this. I'll throw in the guy's perspective, and then we were going to hit some other topics, but I don't want to eat up you guys' time today. So we'll finish with Dwayne and Gabby. But one thing I can say is that a lot of times when I see athletes, especially young athletes, make marital commitments, especially when they're super young. What I'm really seeing, unfortunately, is a young guy who wants to do the right thing, who wants to make the commitment to, be monogamous, to focus and be the family guy. I think a lot of men want that. And what happens is I think there's a conflict between what his body is trying to do and what his mind wants to do. Where if you look at other mammals out in the woods, you look at bear, you look at deer, you look at lions, etc. There is polygamy, as Noma might call it, right? There is sort of this spread your seed kind of thing that happens. And you think about athletes. The athletes are the alpha males. They're full of testosterone. Testosterone makes you aggressive, but it also makes you very, 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 very sexual, right? So I can give you a perfect example. When Kobe Bryant was 21 and said, I love this woman. I want to spend the rest of my life with her, and that's the person I want to be with. I believed him. I believed he really loved that woman, but I didn't believe for a second that there was any chance on earth that he was going to be faithful, knowing that he's going to be a young guy with all this money, and the woman of your dreams is constantly throwing herself at you every city you go to. And, that's tough to endure when you're in a relationship that has ups and downs, where maybe you have a month where your spouse isn't sleeping with you or whatever, right? So again, I'm not justifying it, but I think that, with Dwayne, what I see is a guy who certainly made a mistake, who did something he shouldn't have done. He probably regrets it, but Gabby, for whatever reason, is overlooking that and saying, you know what? He's not perfect. He's not exactly what I want, but I'd rather be with Dwayne Wade than to date the mailman. And I think that's her right to kind of say that. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Somebody tell me I'm crazy before we go.
No, you're not crazy. I
don't think you're crazy.
Oh, go ahead. I don't think you're crazy either. I think some couples have a certain, understanding with each other, and, and that's all that is. So.
Well, here's a last point, and I want to get you guys' take on this. Gabrielle Union ain't exactly an angel either. Everybody always focuses on what the man is doing, but what a lot of people don't know is that women get their groove on too. And I've seen it. I've and without revealing too much, I've had married women hit on me before. And so, honestly, I think that whole myth that men are out here just getting in or whatever, and women are just sitting at home baking cookies, I think that's a bunch of BS too. So I want to know, as a man, what was Gabby up to, especially during that little break? I mean, what do you think?
Well, she certainly didn't bring home no children.
I'll say this, Boyce, be a woman who is at home baking cookies and just baking cookies. I do know that there are women out there who aren't, and they're just probably smarter about it, and they're not leaving babies all over the place. They're just being smart about it. So we can't ever know, and maybe that's the key. Be smart.
There you go. Okay, so the moral of the story is, if you're gonna go out and do your thing, be smart about it and wrap it up. Is that the advice?
Not my moral, but sure.
Tiara?
and don't have sex with a woman that's having sex and got baby daddies with other entertainers, because that's all she does. She just hops around and has sex with entertainers. That's her deal. What's wrong with you?
Her kids are Damon Wayans' grandkids, right? Like she had a baby with Damon Wayans Jr.,
right.
Correct? That's insane.
Yes, and then she came out, and said she had sex with Lamar Odom. Like, this girl clearly is not the one you want to keep and hold on to, but clearly they didn't get the memo. I don't know how you could go to bed with her and be like, just let me just not wrap it up. Ew.
Yeah, two things. One, don't sleep with that woman when you see her. Number two, don't bring her home to mama. And number three, if you take the condom off while you sleep with that woman, you need to go ahead and make sure your will is prepared and your health insurance is paid up, because that's just nasty. That's just nasty. Because, I mean, think about this. If she's sleeping with entertainers and athletes, that means she's sleeping with lots of promiscuous men and not wearing protection. That's a walking CDC alert. That's just nasty. Ugh. All right. Okay. Well, this conversation.
Like that, Dr. Boyce.
What'd you say?
Go ahead.
What'd you say, Yolanda?
My point was, women like that run in the same circle of men. It's like, Karen Steffens. You wonder how she slept with over 50 entertainers. They share the same women.
Well, hey, I tell women that, why you shouldn't mess with entertainers and athletes. You should date professors instead. Professors.
Sure.
Smart is the new sexy, right? So there you go. Anyway, okay. Well,
I bet it is.
There you go. That's right. It's going to be that right here. I'm kidding. Okay. Well, I want to say thank you all for hanging out with me this morning, and thank you all for checking us out and kind of enduring, our little technical difficulties. Just in case you don't know, we do everything very grassroots and borderline bootleg here at Your Black World, but we like to have fun. And so I want to say thank you so much to Nomalanga Mhlauli Moses over at healthyblackwoman.com, Miss Yolanda Spivey, a.k.a. Bianca White, and Miss Tiara Williams, the host of Your Real World and the founder of the Real Righteous Network. So until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.